Most of you watching this right now or listening to this podcast when it becomes a podcast, right now, you already know how to do something that could bring you thousands, tens of thousands, and even, yes, hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout your lifetime. It's a skill that you likely already have that can easily grow as you are paid dollars now, not in 2 years from sync, not next month, maybe, or months down the line from Pond 5 or something like that. And it's something that you can do with the music that you make, that you already know how to make, and support your family for years, if not decades, to come. Now, I'm not talking about any kind of music licensing, sheet music, teaching, church work, or even being a music artist. This surrounds all of those things, but it's not any of those things. It's something that I have done since the 90s. Some of you weren't, I don't even know if some of you were born when I started doing this. This has paid basically all of my monthly bills for 25 years. And that continues today to be my biggest income. I'm talking about taking the skills you already have producing music and charging artists or marketing clients or even other composers and songwriters and make them beautiful recordings for money. But it goes a little deeper than that. Producing music as your main career has so many benefits that I'll only scratch the surface in this introduction today. And this is just the start of a training that will eventually be my next full course, because I think this is so important. This has been in the works since the beginning of this channel almost 4 years ago. I started this channel with a video called 6 Ways to Make Music Income. And this was one of the ways, making music income through music production. I talked about it in the very first video. So today, welcome, class students. This introduction is going to be a step-by-step, everything you're going to need to know to start and build a successful music production business and start and keep making a music living. Yes, I said a music living, a full-time music living from the talents that you already have. And your parents said you'd never make any money in music. Well, welcome to the Make Music Income podcast. My name is Eric Copeland, and I just realized I don't even have any of my things available here. You know, you have one job when you run a podcast. My name is Eric Copeland, and this is the Make Music Income podcast. We do this show. You would think I'd know how, since we do it every Friday around noon. Today we're doing it at 1 because somebody slept in a little bit today. But I talk about the constantly changing world and the different ways that you can earn music income, especially music licensing, music production, which we're talking about today, music royalties, being a music artist, being a composer, an arranger, a producer, making sheet music. Some of you might be people who have a music degree who can come at this in a different way than all of the beat makers with a Z. But all of the ways that I have personally made income, or I find out that other people are making income from music, we talk about it here on this channel because this is all we talk about. I do have another channel, and I'll talk about that, called Hello Composers. I just did a video on that this week. We'll talk about that in a minute. This show is sponsored, you're not going to believe this, by MakeMusicIncome.com. And you can go to this link right here. And actually, you can go to this link right here if you want to get right to the free stuff and get free and paid ebooks. You can start all our courses for free and find our popular one-on-one music career Zoom coaching there. I also have a program to compose with you, to produce directly with and for you as a music composer and a songwriter. And it's called Positive Spin Partners. You can find ways to get in touch with me about all of these below. I'm working on a new Positive Spin Partners page to send you to that you can look right at and find out everything about it. But you can find out all about my music and what it sounds like and everything down below in the description. Check out the description for all the free stuff, if only if you want free stuff. So what's this about music production and why are we getting into it? Well, I'll tell you why we're getting into it. Because I want to talk about my week this week. And my week this week, strangely, and you might say, all I know is that you produce videos. Well, I do. But my week this week has been about producing music. And that producing of music is paying off. Now, that is producing it for other people. I'll get to that in a minute. But I did yet have another album just yesterday approved from a library who heard 5 songs and they want 5 more. And that is with a partner. And then I had another library email me yesterday that is still interested in an album that they liked, but I only had 5 songs, and they are willing to wait for 5 more. That's a good thing. I am making deliverables for 2 different country albums. It was kind of one project that's being split into 2. And so that is being readied for a library, a BMG library that has said, good, send it on in. And then we are closing in on 2 tension albums, a jazz gospel album, a Celtic album, not a Celtics album. That'd be a whole different album. A Celtic album, an ambient album, a classical beats album, and other albums in process. Like I have a horror album going. I have a beautiful score type album. It's kind of like the horror and the beauty is what I call it. And even a few artist EPs going on. So a lot of music production going on here. And it's not all just videos and podcasts here, people. Got work to do. If you see extra videos, I'm either working or I am, and you're seeing it, or it's just stuff that I have chopped out of the podcast that likely no one ever saw because it's the middle or the end of the podcast and most people don't hang in that long. And it's important stuff and I want to make sure you get it. But all the stuff I was just talking about, all the albums, it is all with and for partners, all with and for clients. And the clients are both, in some cases, a person who's paying me to produce with them and a library who will eventually pay me money in some way and or I'll make money in some way. So everything is about producing for clients. And so this is what I do. This is what I do all week is I just sit here and go from song to song, from album to album, and try to get these albums done, released, delivered, and into the world of sync. Now, that being said, I also have a new single releasing next Friday. It's from my jazz group, Player A, and it's also, I just got word that it was accepted into a kind of a library, if you will. It's more of a brief place called Tune Edge, which some of you are probably part of. And I've also pitched it to Crucial. I have to pitch it to only non-exclusive type things because it is a cover. And I have to pitch it to where covers are accepted. And both of these places accept covers and or said they wanted covers. So that is coming out next week on all of the stores. And I'm going to be doing a video next Friday at this time about how I produced it, step by step, how I released it, which is quite a story, and how I am marketing it, including some licensing type things, but also just marketing it so that strangers hear about this single and then listen to it and go to Spotify and go to Apple Music and listen. I did a video Wednesday on my Hello Composers channel. First of all, hello Composers. If you're a composer, and if you are, you need to go join the Hello Composers channel. There is a link below in the description for that video. As you can imagine, since I was composing and I was comparing Berlin Free Orchestra with BBC SO Orchestra with Fracture Sounds, a few others. And it's long, but I think you'll get some things out of it. I've time-stamped it so you can kind of look around and see my process. I am going to work for this next one. I'm going to do another one Wednesday, but I'm going to try to get the sound a little bit more evened out. It's very difficult. This is not easy. You think making videos is easy? You think sitting around and making videos all day is just an easy thing? Let's see what else happened this week. I'm rebuilding Motion Array. I got 2 more songs accepted. Actually, 3 more songs accepted this week, and 1 that will be accepted if I fix something. So, which is good because I took out a bunch of my original stuff out of Motion Array. And as I promised at the beginning of the year, I'm taking out all my originals out of stock music. There's a method to my madness. I just feel like they could be used better in a bigger and better way. And so I'm taking them out of there for now. But that means Motion Array is like tanking this month. I will tell you, if you are on Motion Array, it is about a 2-week wait for approvals right now, it seems. It's what I am seeing. I did a few Zooms with some other composers and songwriters asking me questions about how and what best to do with their career. And if this is something that's interesting to you, go down and check out the consulting and coaching link, and you can find out if that's for you. If you're just needing someone to say, is my production, forget starting a production business. I can't start a production business unless I know I'm doing good productions. We're going to get into that and how you'll know if you're doing good productions. But mostly I was producing music. And speaking of producing music, I want to talk about some news that I saw today. And that is the RIAA numbers for 2024 have come in. And you're asking me, Eric, what is RIAA numbers? Well, first of all, it is a piece of news. The news, March 28th, 2025, the news. The RIAA, which is the Recording Industry Association of America, it came out with something that I love to see every time it comes out, and that is, drum roll please. No, let's not do a drum roll. Don't do a drum roll. Okay, we're doing a drum roll. That is right here, the RIAA 2024 year-end revenue report. And I like just to watch this every year because it shows you year-on-year numbers. And so you can see recorded music year-end revenues. It's gone up. It's gone up, but look at these numbers a little bit, especially 2022. And you've got retail and wholesale. Let's forget about wholesale. That's for businesses. Let's look at retail. 15.9 million in 2022, 17.1 in 2023. 2024, not as big a jump, only about 0.8 million or 0.6 million or whatever that is. It did not go up. These are in the billions. So yeah, that would be 600 million. But still, as you'll see as we get down in this report here everything continued to go up. But you can see there's another number here I want to look at from, you can see it slows down as it's come from 2020 to 2021 as we came out of COVID. It was a big jump. But every year after that, it started to slow down a little bit. But I like looking at this. I like seeing streaming revenues. They continue to go up. But again, they seem to be slowing a smidgen. I think we are starting to get to a leveling off point. This has not really changed at all over here. Let me get out of the way. The U.S. recorded revenues, the streaming is still 84%. Digital downloads is down to 2%. That continues to fall. Physical is at 11%. We'll talk about that in a minute. And sync has come down. I think, if I remember right, sync was at 4% last year. And I'll have to go back and check that. But they're starting to keep sync numbers, which I think is interesting, but it seems to have come down a little bit. But let's look at physical music, which means vinyl, CDs, and other. So physical products continues to grow. Again, not a huge growth because it's not even as big a growth as from 22 to 23, but from 23 to 24. And vinyl records grew 7% to 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion of vinyl. I think that's pretty interesting. And it continues to go up. Again, leveling out a little bit, not as big a jump in any of these. Here's something that's a little interesting, though. Revenues from CDs grew. How about that? CDs grew 1%. That's not very much. But still, CDs are selling somewhere and to someone. So that's interesting to me. But you can see digital downloads continue to fall. Downloaded music continue to decline, down 18% to 336. This is only going to continue. I think people, I don't know if you download any music out there, but I don't think that people are doing that as much. So this report is down in the description below if you'd like to examine all these numbers for yourself. But I think it's pretty interesting, and it's something I like to do every year. Lovely Fishing Rod says, when did you start making the median American income from your music? What is the median American income? Let's say, 40 grand, 50 grand? Probably in my first or second year, I was making at least that much. I was lucky enough to run a studio full time. And before that, I was making about the median American income with a corporate job. And that job ended, and I was kind of starting to work with a producer. And so I got into a studio and started running the studio for him. And so that's kind of how I got going. And eventually, over the next few years, I started to get that up to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to start in the early 2000s. All right, well, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into what we're going to be doing today. All right, so welcome to Intro to Music Production, and the subtitle is Making a Full-Time Living Producing Music for Clients. Now, who are clients? Well, I'll get into that, but clients could be anybody from an artist, which is usual. That was my work for so many years. These were usually artists that would find me online, and we'll talk about how to be found as a music producer. This whole thing is a primer, a beginning for you to see what I talk about when I teach and talk about music production. And because this is the way that I have found it works, and this is the way that I have found it works for just about every producer who makes money. And so let's get on into this and go on to the next slide here and kind of talk about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, I'm going to give a short introduction, and then we're going to talk about making music. You might want to do that if you're going to learn how to produce for people. You need to learn to get out of your cave, which we've talked about in recent weeks as far as making a full-time living. But this is specifically focused on music producers. We're going to talk about how to build a catalog. We're going to talk about how to let people know that you exist. What are the ways to let people know that you are producing music for them, and how to get clients, how to offer more than just music services, build an experience, build your experience, and then it's like a big circle. It kind of just rinse and repeat type of thing. So let's get into that. All right. So first of all, this is the music income you've always wanted. This is the full-time music income you've always wanted. And the thing about this is I can tell you, this is how I pay my bills. This is how I pay all the bills that I have. They're all paid with the money that comes in. Now, as I talk about ad nauseum on this channel, it takes a lot of music incomes to make a music life, a full-time music life. I don't care who is saying it. There are a few people that I know that might make 100% of their music income on sync licensing, but not many. Not many people I know. I would doubt, and I would bet you that most, if not all, the music gurus that are on, and this would include my friends Jesse and Dave and Clint, all of who have been on this channel, I don't know for sure. I don't get into anybody's books or anything, but I would bet you, and I would be pretty confident in saying that they don't make 100, their main income is not the thing that they talk about on their channel, like licensing. But this is something that I can tell you is the main income for me and has always been the main income for me. It's not money I make from YouTube. And I only laugh when I say that because the money that we are paid as YouTubers is surprisingly small. You've probably heard this before, but we probably get, $100 a month, $150 a month from YouTube ads and stuff. So it's not a lot. It's not Sync yet. I mean, Sync is coming along, but it's still not an income that would pay all my bills, or it might pay some bills, but it comes in so sporadically and only quarterly through our PROs that it's very difficult to pay bills with unless you've got a big savings already, which you should have anyway if you're going to be full-time in music. But producing where I can have people pay me all the time, monthly, weekly, that money can make you consistent music income. The other great thing about this is you constantly grow as a composer, a songwriter, and a producer because you have to continue getting better. Now, you do this when you're doing licensing. You do this when you're licensing. But this is something you're kind of forced. This is forced labor. You're doing a job for someone. And so you're getting money from these composers and songwriters and from artists and from marketing clients and different people you're working with and for. So you're constantly growing because you have to grow. If you want to continue making money, you have to get better, and you continue to get better. And you find partners that may become partners for months, for years. I literally have people who I've been working with for decades, and that's not a joke. That is working with someone, and they may go away and come back. I just had someone email me today who I've been working with for at least 2 decades. Now, you could do this also with music libraries. You could get a music library and work with them for years or decades. And I've worked with several of the libraries I'm with and that have provided me some income through Sync. I've worked with them for years. And several of the partners I'm working with now, I've been working with for years. I met 10 years ago or longer. And so this is something that you can do. This can be an income that supports your Sync habit, your Sync addiction, your stock addiction, your whatever other music addiction you have. You like to go out and play gigs, but they don't play very much, or they don't pay very much. Sometimes you don't play very much, but they don't pay as much as you like. But this music production can be an income that supports any music habit you have that you want to do, even just sitting around and making music for fun. You can gear your production company towards Sync. It's what I do. I made a conscious change 10 years ago or so to start to shift all of my music work for clients to Sync. And now have made our Positive Spin Partners program available, and that lets me be doing production work for Sync artists, and I'm part of those Sync productions. So it's kind of a win-win. So that's another plus to starting a production company. You can gear it towards Sync licensing. You could also go the other way and do the whole label thing and bring other income streams other than music. So you could be doing other jobs, other royalties, and different things that come in from being a label. I do a little bit of that as well. So that's a little introduction on some of the things. And really, one of the blessings of this is, and I'm putting this last, but this is one of the ways to be relevant. This is one of the ways to be important in music, and that is you're helping other people grow in their music. And that's why they become partners for years, right? That's how they become partners for years and for decades, because you're helping them. You're providing a service to them, which is very important. All right, so let's talk real quickly about making music. And you're probably already doing this. This is why, and my number one reason for making this video, and for even talking about it today, is because you're already likely making music by doing Sync, by doing sheet music, by doing stock music, by doing artist music, by whatever you're doing music-wise, you're already making music. You're already producing music. So for me, that's why this is so important in Intro to Music Production to talk about making music, but you're already doing it. And it's a completely natural thing for you to do, is make music. A lot of people, when they think of being a producer or making music and being a music producer, means that you have to be this like boss and you're not making much music. You know what? In 2025, most producers are making the music. There are a few Rick Rubins out there that sit back and go, yeah, I'm going to meditate. Then I'll tell you what I think about the bridge. No, we're sitting here slaving over a hot keyboard. I am writing the music. I am producing the music. A lot of times sometimes I am sending it off to players that I need to, or I am hiring vocalists and things like that. But I am usually in the DAW mixing. I am usually in the DAW preparing things for sync. I am usually doing lots of stuff with and for the artists. I'm sending stuff. Yesterday I sent stuff off to a cello player, and I had to make some sheet music for the cello player, and that was for a production for another client. And so you'll hear me use the word client and partner together. Anybody who is paying you is a client. You could even say people who aren't paying you as a client, but there's money on the back end. They're still clients. I like to call them partners because some people I'm working with, it's a total partner effort. Some people pay me for a little while and then become partners after that. It just changes from time to time. But you're already making music because you're already doing it. It's completely natural, or it's taught. You went to university, you went and did study, and so you have a rich background in music, and it is something that you do because you can't not do it, but also because you have done the study and you have done the background work it takes to learn music and do music. I spoke to someone yesterday who comes at this whole music thing from a very educational taught background. So most of his work, he's got a music notation program open at the same time because he's thinking in terms of notation, in terms of theory and things like that. That's okay. Some people are like that, and some people, I'm kind of got both. I came to that party late. I was doing it naturally before, and then I kind of came into the taught version, the scholastic version, if you will. But you already know how to produce music. It's something you already know. Maybe you are also a composer or songwriter, and you produce that. And you're doing that right now, and you're doing it for sync, or you're doing it for stock music, or you're doing it for putting on Spotify. All that, though, could be stuff that you're doing, and you're doing that on your own dime, right? You're doing all of that on your own time. No one is paying you to do the sync, the stock, the stuff you're putting on Spotify. What if they were? But what if it was? What if you were producing and writing, producing and mixing, and you were doing all of these things? Maybe just mixing. Maybe you're just a mixing person, and that's your real skill. All of these things can be things you're doing for clients, and they can be things you're doing for clients as soon as next week, as soon as today. If you call somebody, or if you put your name out there, or you offer your services to people you already know. Maybe full artist services, from consulting through marketing. This is what I do. I consult. I already have a coaching service. You know this. It's in the description below, and it's on my website. I've been doing consulting since the 90s, but certainly since the early 2000s as part of my median income. And marketing is another thing. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you got to build your skills first. You got to do all these things that I'm talking about here. And you've got to, let me point in the right direction. You got to do all these things. You got to make music first. But here's the beauty of it. You're already doing this. You're already making music. You've already learned all that you need to know. So now, this is a little touchy subject. And if you're sitting right now in your secret music bat cave, and you are watching this video, or you're watching it from any little room or little place that you hide and hang out or play games, guess what? I've got bad news for you. You've got to get out of that cave. And I know this because I was in a cave myself. I lived in a cave, not a real cave. I've been in a cave, but I didn't live in a cave. I had a downstairs studio, and I was trying to make all my music from there and get on Taxi from there. This is back in the 90s, and get clients to come to my house and stuff like that, which we built a separate entrance to our house so that clients could come in. But it didn't really take off for me, music, as far as a bigger income, until I started getting out to local studios, until I started getting out and working with other musicians, until I started getting out and working with other engineers, till I started going to music cities like Nashville. I was from Lexington, Kentucky is my hometown, and that's about 3.5 hours from Nashville. And I started going to Nashville and speaking with publishers and doing some mastering, and eventually ended up moving there. And I'm not saying that everyone has to move there to be a music producer, but it doesn't hurt. I'm telling you that right now. Going to music conferences. I went to a lot in Nashville, but I also went to music conferences in Atlanta, in Washington, D.C. I went to them all over the place. Indiana, Chicago. I went to different music conferences, and this is a way to get out, start letting people see and hear what you do as a producer, as a music maker. Find mentors, people like myself, or maybe these are even people on the local level who aren't pros or were pros or just have wisdom. These could be anyone from a music professional that you know, maybe someone who had a record deal one time or had a publishing deal at one time, or a music minister at a church, a person who's had a full career leading others as a music person, or some combination of that. Music teachers are good to talk to as mentors. Finding people that say, hey, I'm trying to make a full-time living in music. I'm trying to be a music producer. I'm trying to help other people. Do you know anyone I can help? And where would I start? And you show them your music. Go back to this. Go back to, show them the music that you already knew how to make. And then approach your mentors and find somebody that you could talk to. I have several. The whole reason I got started in this is because of a guy who was a producer full-time and ran a studio. And I actually literally called him mentor. And I also have many mentors in Nashville who I have leaned on through the years and have given me great advice. Even one who said, don't come to Nashville yet. And then finally said, yes, now come to Nashville. Have meetings with people. Have meetings with not just mentors, but maybe meet somebody at work who wants to make some music. Go have coffee. Go have lunch. Talk about it. Dream about it. This is the way you get out of your cave. Bradford Knight says, I've tried this and found it difficult to record genres that don't inspire me. Yeah, I feel you. That's been my life. Yeah, there's an easy fix to this, Bradford. Don't work on the ones that don't inspire you. Only work on genres that you want to work on, and then go look for those partners. Go look for those clients that do the things that you want to do. Everybody watching this right now, listen up. Do the music that moves you. You can do both. You can have both. You can have the music that you want to do and music that makes you money. You can have both of those. I think we get into this mindset, and I've been in it before, that I did not do what Bradford just said. I did not embrace saying no. Now, one reason is because I wanted to be the guy who was always busy. And so I never said no to any project. And then that put me into this category, is making music that I did not enjoy for people I did not enjoy making it for, and genres that I didn't want to work in, and none of my players wanted to work in. So yes, it's nice to be able to say no. Yes, say no. But at the same time, when you're starting out, sometimes you do have to work in genres that don't inspire you. All right, thanks for those comments, people. Let's move on now to the next part of this, and that is building a catalog. This is the next big thing. Okay, we just got you out of your cave, all right? And you're getting into studios, and you're starting to go to music conferences, and you're meeting mentors. I talked about showing your mentors your work. Well, you're not going to be able to show them your work if you don't have any. So you've got to start somehow building and putting together a catalog. This is one reason that places like SoundCloud have been important in the past. This is one reason that things like Disco are so big for you to have. And that is, you've got to start with your own music. And this is the easiest way. Now, you can go out and make a bunch of music that is not your music. But again, this gets back to what we were just talking about. Should you work on music that you don't want to work on? Well, if you don't, start with the music that you make for yourself. That was my catalog at first. My label consisted of me. And people heard what I was doing. And both the cool thing and the disappointing thing is that I would show them my music and they would say, "That's awesome. Can you record me?" And I thought, okay, so they really like it or don't like it? And really what happened was they wanted me to produce music for them. And so I started doing so. I took a lot of the previous release stuff that I had put out, I put it up online. And you could start with the stuff that you're doing for sync. Plenty of you are doing really nice work for sync licensing. You could be using this as bait to find music clients and or partners. Maybe there are people out there, and I know there are because I'm working with them, who are only able to get to a certain point with their music and not all the way to that final finished point, and not able to pitch because they don't have the skills, they don't have the ability, they don't have the network. And guess what? Not everybody has to build all that. I know that you're out there feeling all this pressure if you're trying to get into sync and say, how am I going to meet music supervisors? And how am I going to meet sync agents? And how am I going to meet libraries? I can barely make the music. Well, guess what? Make the music first. Okay. Make that build your catalog first, and then worry about finding the other pieces. But you can start with your own music that you've already made. You can start with stuff that you are making now for sync or you're making for stock. A lot of the stuff that you're making for stock is stuff you can show off. You can start with artists that you've done a little bit of work with. Maybe you've worked with another artist, or you've worked with a band. And maybe you have some recordings of that, or you can work on mixing those and making those your catalog. But you've got to have something to show people. And one of the ways to do this is maybe to write and produce other people, even free. Like, approach people at work, approach friends, approach people that you love making music with, and make some free music. Maybe you go ahead and just focus it on sync. Maybe sync is something you're interested in. And you go ahead and focus it on sync or non-exclusive, and you're going to make music for one of these things, or you're going to put it out on Spotify. And at the same time, you can be killing a lot of birds with one stone, and writing new music, producing new music, putting it out to Spotify, putting it out to sync, putting it out to stock, wherever you're putting it, but also put it on your catalog to dangle in front of potential new production clients. And that is what I did. I started with my own stuff, and everything that I do continues to be that. Start a disco site or a website. Maybe look at Bandzoogle. They have a great way to put your music up. But I'm not going to get into this now, but I don't think SoundCloud, I know everybody loves SoundCloud. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I'm telling you folks, there's nothing that pisses me off more than a client or a artist or a songwriter or someone who sends me some songs to listen to. And after a few songs, I'm sitting there listening to a SeaWorld commercial. And I'm thinking, did they do the music for a SeaWorld commercial? That is one way, and I turned it off. I quit listening after that because I'm stuck for 30 seconds. It's not like a YouTube thing that you can quit after a few seconds. It's 30-second ad. Come on, people. We can't be using SoundCloud. You just can't. Unless there's a way to use it without that happening to the listener. It may not happen to you, but I'm talking about the listener who's trying to listen to your music for professional reasons. I would be very scared to send a SoundCloud link to a library, because there's nothing they hate more than being stuck listening to ads or being stuck in an endless loop where they can't get out of. And they're like, you are wasting my time. All right. So sorry, I'm going to get off that soapbox. But disco, which you can get into very cheaply, or if you get a website where you can put your links up that way, and there are other things, Real Crafter and things like that. But boy, SoundCloud, we're going to have a talk one day about SoundCloud. If you build it, they will come. Will they come? And how will they come? All right, you've built a catalog. What's next? Well, next is you have to let people know. You have to somehow let people know that you have a catalog. Now, back in my day, it was actually the same. You had to build. I am a child of the 70s and 80s, but I also started my career in the 90s and my main music career in the late 90s and early 2000s. And we did have the internet when I started. So I kind of lucked out. When I was ready to get really pro and really build a music business, I had the internet. I was in computers early because my dad brought home an IBM PC in 1980. And so I learned how to do computer stuff early. And so I wasn't afraid of HTML coding when it came out and when I was able to do it. And so when I was able to have a website, which was about 1995 or 96, I had one. And so I was one of the early people online and early people letting people know that I was there. I did start out rather low tech with business cards and handed them out to work locally. But eventually I did build websites and started being in the search engines of the time, which were not Google. The search engine of the time was Alta Vista or Yahoo. And those were the search engines that people were searching to find music producers who did a certain kind of music. And I did jazz and I did gospel and I did certain genres that they wanted to. And when I did it, they had a catalog to look at that I had put up, first of my music and then other people I was working for. So the website was very important, and it still is. It's still a great place to show off what you're doing. Yeah, you can have a YouTube site. You can have Instagram and TikTok. You can do all that stuff. But you need a place to lead them back to. A website that shows who you are, and what you sound like. You have an about section that's got a little bio on you and talks about your background. Be serious. This isn't a place to be like, yo, I like to make beats. This is, Eric Copeland has been making music for over 25 years and blah, 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 blah. This is the impressive thing that you're trying to show potential people who are going to pay you money. So about section is very important. Photos of you working with other people is huge. Yes, selfies are great, but guess what else is great? Photos of not you. Photos of people working in the studio. Photos of people who are doing the thing that they want to do. You want people looking at your website and you want them seeing you, but you also want them seeing people at microphones. You want them seeing engineers and them posing with the engineers. You want to have pictures of the studios that you can work at. Your studio, if it looks nice, or your studio, the studios that are local to you. They're not your studios, but guess what? Clients don't know that. Clients don't know that they're not your studios. All they know is that you are a producer at these studios. And then offering the services that you have. You want to make a page that just talks about all the services, and certainly contact info. You need all that kind of stuff. Jack Barton says, I agree about SoundCloud. The experience has gotten way worse over the years. Ads are annoying, storage space is more limited, and it's overrun with spam bots. It's no place for professionals to be, folks. It's just not. So I've got a video coming that I thought of this week about technologies it might be time to move on from, and sites and things like that. This is one of them. So thanks, Jack. Staying on letting people know. How do you let people know about you? Well, first is the website. It was true in the 90s. It's still true. It's a place people can go to find out about you, because they can look all day at your YouTube. That's great. They can look at your Instagram all day. That's great. They can look at your TikToks all day. But when it's time, they need a link to go to find out really more about you. The people who are going to spend money, the people who are going to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars with you, they need to see a website, just like you want to see a website for any company you're going to buy something from, right? The other way that you're going to let people know is social media. YouTube, I think, is the biggie. I'm going to suggest that anybody starting a site or a business in 2025 should have a YouTube channel talking about your business, talking about what you do. Would you trust me and pay me to do coaching if all I had was a website? No. You come to this YouTube channel and you get free content and you watch it over and over. And then eventually you say, hey, I need to talk to Eric, or I need to take one of his courses, or I need one of his free ebooks, or something like that. Instagram is another one. TikTok is another one. Facebook pages and your personal page, but also Facebook professional pages. All these are important, and all these are important to build. And if you can get YouTube /make music income, Instagram /make music income, TikTok /make music income, Facebook /make music income, I have all those. Substitute make music income with whatever your business is called, and make it easy to spell. Make it easy to remember, and so that they can go. The first thing I did when I started Make Music Income, or I start any music brand at all, is I go and make sure that name that I've picked for that business is available at all of these, as well as the .com for the website, as well as gmail.com. So it can be that at gmail.com. And probably some other places too, but those are the main ones. And if it's not available at any of those or most of those, I don't even try the brand. So come up with a producing brand. I came up with Creative Soul Records, and Creative Soul Online is what I use. But social media is important. And of course, your music business website is hugely important. But start a channel of some kind. Offer regular free content. What you're watching right now is free content that I will not only keep up on the channel, but I probably will do some smaller versions of next week, some short versions. This is the podcast you're watching and listening to right now. This goes out to a rather large following on Spotify and Apple Music podcasts and other podcast stations where people listen to this podcast every week. And so I am making this not just for YouTube, but I am making this for other podcast channels as well. But that regular free content builds trust. And the one thing you have to do as a producer is build trust, and so that they will pay you the money that you need to make full-time music income. Offer other free stuff. Offer free ebooks like I have, free little courses. You're getting a free course right now. And start a mailing list of possible clients that you can tell, hey, I've got a new video out talking about my new studio, or I've got a video out showing how I was working yesterday composing with a client, or here's a video of a client performing that we did their album last week. And then that mailing list directs them back to your channel and the free content, and all of this just kind of continues to grow, just like this channel does, or any channel that you might watch does. And that's one reason why we spend this much time doing these videos, is because it will hopefully bring us more clients. Freedom Studio says, producing is the future for me. Hey, it should be the future, or the present for everyone. And I know you're saying, I don't want to become a music producer, but you're also telling me that you want music income. And the reason why a lot of you will leave sync licensing or stock licensing or making music for Spotify or whatever is because you're not making any money. And the honest truth is, I am telling you where I'm making my money right now. In this video, I'm telling you where I'm making my money, and that is in producing other people. And hey, guess what? If you want to do sync, partner with people, find people who need your help because they can't do it by themselves. They have some song ideas, or find people who are just songwriters and say, hey, have you ever heard of this thing called sync licensing? If you're into sync, and say, we could partner together and work together, and I'll produce your music and put it out on to Spotify and do all the things for you. And we'll also pitch it to sync. It is a great way to partner with people. And I'm finding it to be a renaissance in my career, in my production career. So sync and production go hand in hand, because you've got to produce the music you're doing for sync. Why not produce it with other people? Why not get paid by other people if they're not able to produce it themselves and help them produce? And this is something I do for people. If you're interested in this, make sure that you get in contact with me. There's information below on our Positive Spin Partners program, and that's exactly what it does. One of the things I do to get clients is offer free consultations. Sometimes it is through a free ebook that they get. Sometimes it is a free phone call. They just say, hey, can I call you and ask you a question? I also offer paid consultations where I get give them a full hour of my time on Zoom or even in person. You can meet people for coffee in your area and talk with them. And again, a lot of this free consultations, meeting people for coffee, the things I'm going to talk about, free offers, you've got to build your worth. And you build that through what we already talked about up here. Not this. We've got to let people know. Before we can let people know, we've got to build catalog. And the way you're going to build catalog is you're going to start with your own, but then you're going to have to work for some other people. And if you're going to work for some other people, you've got to let them know, and then you've got to start meeting with them and maybe doing some free work. As a matter of fact, with my Positive Spin Partners program, I do a free song with everyone. This is something I've just started, kind of letting people know what's the feel of working together, what's the feel of partnering, and what you can expect from the process. Some people end up not liking the process. Believe it or not, they just don't want their music to be messed with. Some people are very persnickety about how they want their music worked with. And some people are just happy to be there. They're just happy that anything you do, they're just like, that's amazing. I've been waiting my whole life for somebody to help bring my music out, and you're doing it. You've got to build your worth. And sometimes that's doing free stuff for people. So one way to get clients is to do a free song for them. Do a free song, produce it all the way through and say, hey, look what we can do. And there's a lot of ways to work with clients as far as how they pay you. You can charge by the project. You say, okay, I'm going to start out at a rate of $250 to produce a song or $500 to produce a song. My general rate to be the producer only of a song, which means I could do anything from nothing and just put all the right people together and the engineer and guide the entire process, to I could do the entire thing right here with nobody else involved because I program it all. And I could say I charge $500 or $600 for that per song. The other way to work with people is to charge by the hour. This is more of a studio thing where people are coming to your studio, to your house, and you're working with them per hour and you say it's $35 an hour or it's $50 an hour. And this is how we're going to work together. So that is one way to work with people. The other way to work with people, and this is my preferred way, and that is to charge by the month. And that is how I do the Positive Spin Partners program. I have people pay a price per month, and they get as much as I can give them. So the people who send me tons of songs usually get tons of songs finished. If you send me that's something that's 75% done and it just needs me to add some stuff, to augment the sounds and make them a little better, to add a few musical ideas of my own and mix and master and pitch, well, you could get, we are usually, for those kind of people, we're probably averaging about an album every 2 months, which is a great price because, as I just said, I charge $500 or $600 a project. And sometimes people are paying $375 a month or less and getting 10 songs done in 2 months. So pretty good deal, if you ask me. But you can charge any of these ways and it work. Once you get clients and you're able to do some free consultations, do some work, start charging them. Once you get those people, and this is where I know I might lose some of you who want to do production, and that is offering more than just making music for people. Once you finish the music, then what? They don't know what to do. Believe me, I have been doing this for I've been doing this for 30 plus years now. They barely know how to get their music made. Most of them need me to do all of that for them. Much less any kind of marketing, much less build themselves a website, much less get on social media. Do you know I literally have done social media posts for people because they just don't or won't post themselves on their Instagram, on their Facebook page. It's crazy how much posting I have literally done for people because they want that to be done for them. Videos. And a lot of this stuff is probably stuff you know about because you've already been doing it for your music. Making music videos, lyric videos, I just put a video out for my new single that you can see on the site. It's called Windmills of Your Mind. It's the single that's coming out next Friday. And I'll be talking about that next Friday. But videos are something you can help them with. Lyric videos, or maybe not even lyric videos, but videos that are for social media. And so you can be doing it that way. Again, I said marketing posts. Hey, my album is out. I'll literally release an album tomorrow or next week, next Friday for a client. And I will literally be the one posting about it because I know how to do the post right and get the most views on it and all that kind of stuff. And you likely know some of this stuff too, because you've been producing your own music and putting it out. You can help people do photo shoots and video shoots, and you can just provide ongoing marketing help. You can help them come up with release plans for singles. Let's do a single every 2 months. And here's the plus about doing a single every 2 months. We're kind of in a golden age of producing, because it used to be that we produced albums. And I will talk about that next, the album release plan. But both of these are money makers for you as a producer. You could be releasing a single. In order to be successful as an artist, you need to be releasing music a lot. Sometimes some people say monthly. Other people say every 6 weeks to 8 weeks. You release a single. There's a whole plan around that. I'm going to go through my plan next week about releasing a single and how I am trying to get the most out of that release for the most eyes to see and hear that song as it comes out. But there's releasing your single and releasing singles. So that means you get to produce singles every 2 months for people. And it's just a cycle that keeps going. And if you do a good job helping them with a marketing campaign, and there are other people that you can employ and bring into this that can help you, or you can watch Andrew Southworth or Tom Dupree III and see their plans for how they go about doing ads and things and getting singles heard and more audience to them. Then there's the album release plan, which works pretty much the same. What we're going to do is make a 10-song album or a 5-song EP, and that, again, is a project fee or a monthly fee that you could work on. It's a great way to continue making music income as a producer. Clients beget clients. The more clients you have, the more people that are working with you, the more that you can show off to the next person. Because every song that you make from a client in your catalog gets you more clients. In other words, every album or every single you do, and you can put up and show people what you got from that. And this could also include things like being on Spotify and showing off, building a continual playlist of stuff that you are producing and putting on Spotify, and that playlist grows and grows and grows. And every client that you work with, if it turns out great, it becomes another thing that you can put out and dangle out in front of other clients. Every new album that you put out, and you put out on Spotify or whatever, or maybe it's a sync album, every new video that you make for people builds your YouTube channel as well as theirs. Every new social post that lets other people see that you're doing work for someone, and people are saying, oh, that's good. Who's doing that? Who's helping you do that? And word of mouth is happening. It's the, I'll have what she's having. It's the incalculable importance of catalog. People always want what they see someone else having. And that's why catalog is so important, and your experience is so important. The more experience you have, the more people are going to see this and more clients that you will get and you'll continue to get. It's like a big circle. You have word of mouth from people seeing and hearing things, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends. It's like the old commercial. The more you produce and show off, the more work you will get. And it just continues to go around and around. You finish a project, you show it off. You get more projects, you finish those projects, you show them off. It's a big circle. And we go back to step 4. What was step 4? Let people know. Okay, we're going to show them the website. We're going to do social media. We're going to start a channel and offer free content. That free content could be, hey, I just finished this song. Here's what the experience was like. If you want a checklist of how I work with clients, you can get it here. Or if you want to work with me, join my mailing list. And then off we go again to getting clients and charging them and doing projects. And then offering more stuff on the back end. It just is a big circle, folks, and you just continue to do it over and over and over. Is producing the future for you? I'm telling you, it probably should be, because at least as another income to what you're already doing now. Everybody asks me, how do I make music income? That's what the channel is all about, making music income. And the way I make music income is by doing full-time music producing for people. And it just continues to work for me. And this is the way that I make full-time music income, is to be producing full-time for people and then continuing to show that off and get more, and or the people I produce for want more, because they get a good product and they become partners for months, for years, for decades. So I hope this has been helpful today. I am going to be leaving this, what we're doing right now, and getting right back to production. This is what I do. This is the next thing that I do after I quit this video, is I start back on I get back into Logic, and I am working on more projects for more people. That is the way my life works. And I would suggest to you, if you really enjoy producing in your DAW, there are a lot of you who have full-time jobs, and so it would not make sense necessarily. Or the jumping from a full-time job to full-time production. I kind of talked about that more last week, and you can find some videos on that. There was a little video that I made that's very short, unlike me. I edited down about how do you go from full-time income in a job to full-time income in music. This is the thing that you do, though. I think this is the thing, other than sync, other than stock, other than sheet music, other than even gigs. I think producing is the best way to do it. Anyway, I hope this has helped you. Thank you for watching so much. Make sure you go to makemusicincome.com/free and get free stuff. And if you're interested in working with me and maybe even figuring out how to produce other people, or you're someone who needs help with your productions, go and find out the information below about Positive Spin Partners. I would love to work with you and for you, and let's work together on making music for sync and also releasing it to Spotify and anything else that you want to do. If you're an artist, I would love to talk with you as well. See, I am doing what I talk about all the time, which is helping people make music income and making music. It's kind of backwards this time. Helping people make music is the way I stay in business. So that's about all I have this week, folks. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this has helped and that this presentation helps you. If you like it, leave a comment. I am heavily considering doing a full course in this. If you would like to see that, please let me know. But thanks for being here. Make sure you give this video a like if you're still in, if you've hung out through this whole thing. Please give me a like. I'll give it a like. Everyone give this video a like and let me know that it's been helpful, that the information has been interesting to you. And that just helps me, and it helps the video be seen by other people. And maybe someone else out there who wants to make a full-time music income can do so. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time here on the Make Music Income podcast. Have a great week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.